Good day, grade 8s. Today we'll be looking at one of our few last lessons, which will be the North American continent. And I would like you to please turn to page 137. Right, so we'll do some reading and then also go through the activity, so have your books ready. Okay, so here we see the North American continent. It says the continent of North America comprises several important rivers and landforms that are famous worldwide. Some of the most important rivers include the Mississippi, Missouri, Ohio, and Rio Grande. The most famous landform in the continent is the Continental Divide, which is an imaginary line dividing the continent into two drainage areas. Other famous landforms include the Great Plains, the Rocky Mountains, and Sierra Madres. North America has 23 countries and so many different islands. The most famous islands are Greenland, the Caribbean, and the Bahamas. It is bordered to the north by the Arctic Ocean. The North Atlantic Ocean is to its east, the Caribbean is to the southeast of the continent, and on the west it is bordered by the North Pacific Ocean. The continent of South America is on the southeast side. So here we see the southeast side, the continent of South America. Now for this particular page, I couldn't get to screenshot it correctly, so I'd like you to please follow in your books. It says that Greenland is an autonomous island within the Kingdom of Denmark. Okay, autonomous means it operates on its own. It is located between the Arctic and Atlantic Oceans. The island received its name from the first Scandinavian people who settled in it. At different times, the island attracted settlers from Iceland and Norway. In fact, both countries colonized the island throughout history. When the Danish occupied the area and became the sole colonizers, they kept the island closed, worried that if it were open to the world, it would be vulnerable to attacks from many people who would be interested in settling there. It was not until the 1940s, after the end of World War II, that the country had started depending more on its own powers and developing a sense of independency. The country did not really become self-reliant before the year 1979, when the Parliament of Denmark granted it home rule. Yet the head of state remains up to date to be Margrethe II, the Queen of Denmark. In 2009, Greenland started to follow international law. The country today has a parliament of 31 members and a commissioner who is assigned by the Queen. Fishing is the domineering industry on which the island depends. The country also depends on funds supplied to it by Denmark in order to cover its public spending. The central part of the island is covered with ice, and such a place has become a station for at least 4 scientific expeditions. Although 81% of Greenland is covered with an ice sheet, around 56,000 people were estimated to be living there in the year 2010. Danish is the main language on the island, yet many people also speak the Greenlandic language. The Caribbean islands are a combination of 7,000 islands, islets, reefs, and cays. These islands are also known as the West Indies ever since Christopher Columbus first arrived into the continent. He reached those islands in Pacific. Some of the major Caribbean islands are the Bahamas, Barbados, the British Virgin Islands, and the Virgin Islands. Many languages are used there, some of which are Spanish, English, French, and Dutch. All the Caribbean states follow the same political system that depends on religionalism, a system based on the interests of a region or group of regions. The islands have a variety of endangered species ranging from mammals to birds and reptiles. One of these is the Cuban crocodile. The Bahamas, on the other hand, is a set of 29 islands located in the Atlantic Ocean to the north of Cuba. It is a sovereign, independent nation with its own political and legal traditions. Its Queen of State is Queen Elizabeth II. Economy in the Bahamas relies on tourism that accounts to 60% of its GDP. Late estimates show that 85% of the country's population is of African origin. Right, grade 8. And here's your activity, which I'd like you to also answer. Okay, so you'll find the activity on page 140. And exercise 1, I'll go through the questions just so that you can understand it a bit more. All right, name an important river and an important landform in the continent of North America. Number 2, fill in the blanks using the words that best complete each sentence, so you can read through that. And number 3, what island is located between the Arctic and Atlantic Oceans? Number 4, why did the Danish keep their island closed? Number 5, what is the major industry in this island? Number 6, name 2 major Caribbean islands. And number 7, what political system do the Caribbean islands follow? All right, grade 8, that brings us to the end of the session. I'd like you to complete this activity as part of your homework. And thank you.